Welcome back. This is the Agent Workforce Podcast. I am Kristiina and I lead marketing at Digital Workforce. And with me, we have Niko Lehtonen, who is the AI solution architect at Digital Workforce. Hello, Niko.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, been good. Agentic demos keep on getting built and new AI tools keep on appearing. So there's always a lot to do. What about you?
Yeah, likewise. Thanks. So let's kick off. In today's episode, we'll be talking a little bit about a leaked memo, if it was leaked purposefully or not, that we don't know, from a Shopify founder, some updates from OpenAI, Google, and NotebookLM, to mention a few, and obviously things around AI agents as well. But hey, let's kick off. So Shopify, most of you for sure know, that is a Canadian multinational e-commerce company, probably the leading e-commerce, like powering millions of e-commerce businesses online. A platform to start, run, and grow your online business. And their founder, called Tobias Latke, leaked a memo, or it was a leaked memo on X, and he actually published the whole memo there. And it has some major points related to use of AI at Shopify. And you can go and find the whole post on X, but I'm going to read out a couple of takeaways from that. So firstly, he states there that AI is now a baseline expectation at work. So everyone at Shopify is expected to use AI effectively in their work. So it's a core skill required for everyone. And AI is seen as a 10x or 100x multiplier. So it's amplifying human capability and becoming kind of a teammate that you regard as a teammate. And it's required to be integrated into project workflows, so it must be included in the prototype phase of all projects. And this is quite interesting as well, is that AI usage is tied to performance reviews. So when the company is doing performance reviews, is also being evaluated how AI is being used across different roles. So so AI will be part of a performance reviews and peer review forms going forward. And also an important point is that hiring comes after AI exploration. So teams requesting new headcounts need to evaluate if they could do the same thing using AI solutions first. So a lot to unpack here. And finally, hey, one last point is that everyone needs everyone. This is an important point as well. So this AI standard applies to every single person at Shopify, including CEO and the executive team. So a lot of points there. I see this becoming the standard going forward in many, if not all companies for sure. So any comments, thoughts on these, Niko?
Yeah, I mean the aspect of if you need more people, let's first see if AI can help out here. I think it's a good one because it sort of forces people and organizations in general to see what kind of options there are out there and what kind of tasks could they use AI in. So this will probably lead to new types of use cases or expand the mindsets of these organizations who decide to take this route. Now, Shopify, of course, sounds like they're already quite far in that journey if they're taking this approach. So maybe things work a bit different there, but I would say that it could be quite healthy for any organizations looking to hire new people, expanding their teams, to spend a bit of time to figuring out what kind of tasks within those jobs could AI assist with, so that maybe you could just, with AI, get further ahead without trying to scale up your resources.
Yeah. And particularly important is to keep in mind that what we have as of today is not what we're going to have the end of this year or moving to next year. To keep in mind the timeline and what we know is going to happen in the future and what we can foresee coming in the future. The agents that we build today and the AI tools we use today will be totally different towards the end of the year. So preparing for that as well when building the organization, because you can build these scenarios and understand what's coming, because all the leading companies are dropping hints and pieces of information, so we can form a picture. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, nobody talked about Cursor 6 months ago. Now all I do is use Cursor for all my projects. Not all of them, but really it's changed so much. And well, we know programming is one of the main areas where AI and LLM use has been helping out in the first place more than almost anywhere else. But considering how far and how quickly these things are expanding, advancing, other types of jobs and tasks are going to have similar types of tools. If they don't, they will. And that will probably happen already during this year and so on. Just a couple of days ago, Microsoft started their AI agent hackathon actually, and you can see the initial project drafts online if you want to go and take a look. There's all kinds, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those ends up becoming something that's going to be present in our everyday lives in the future.
Mm. Yes, that's it. All right, let's move on to OpenAI. A lot of updates from OpenAI, a lot of tweets or X announcements as well. We talked about the image generation last time. I've been using it heavily since. I've been also trying same prompt on Midjourney, and I was sharing that if you put your face into OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0, it will always change the face a little bit. And now it's actually refusing to take in my face anymore. It's saying that it's I'm requesting to violate their content policies when I'm asking to repeat the same face again. So that's definitely one reason why you can't exactly replicate yourself, at least using OpenAI's nor Midjourneys for that matter. So it creates a totally different looking person. At least I couldn't use those images representing myself. But yeah, you may have hit the same limits as we have. But yeah, on the what we can see or what we can expect to come soon, Sam Altman wrote on X maybe 6-7 days ago now that they are releasing new models soon. Quote, change on plans. We're going to release O3 and O4 mini after all, probably in a couple of weeks, and GPT-5 in a few months. There are a bunch of reasons for this, but the most exciting one is that we're going to be able to make GPT-5 much better than we originally thought. So they're creating momentum. We can expect new updates pop up fairly soon and even a new model coming up in a few months' time. So a lot to expect there. Something that was announced yesterday is memory. So this is from Nick Turley, head of product at OpenAI. Starting today, memory in ChatGPT can now reference all your past chats. So not just your saved memories. So some of you who use ChatGPT may have been playing around with the memory feature, asking it to remember certain conversations. You can go and check what is actually included in the memory as of now. But with this new update, unfortunately, not available again in Europe for the time being, in the UK either, or Switzerland. We need to wait. But anyways, elsewhere, this has now been updated, and how it will look for us in the future and in the US already is that there's a tab saying that reference saved memories. Let ChatGPT save and use memories when responding. So that applies to all of your conversations there. And I've been thinking about this and having used ChatGPT since it was launched publicly. So I have, I don't know, thousands or hundreds at least conversations ranging all kinds of things. So different scenario, loads of that work related, professional development related, personal development related, some like crazy tests as well. So honestly, I don't know how that turns out to be when it's remembering all my conversation and having a memory from all my conversation. Will there be a way in the future for me to block some of the conversations from the memory? Because their tone obviously is entirely different in all the different chats I have there. So it would be quite cool to have a feature that I could enable, like my hobby history or personal history or work history. Maybe in the future when we have all these tools available from Workwise, and so we don't need to have like the same tool for all different use cases. But how do you see this, Niko?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing if this memory thing. I couldn't find a mention anywhere whether it's just for the chat windows or whether it's also for the API. Because if it's for the API, then this could have some interesting uses in customer service. You know, the chat assistant is always going to know all your context from previous discussions and understand why you might be revisiting them in the first place and so on. Whereas right now you might have to start re-explaining the whole thing. So that could be really, really one thing. But yeah, let's see. Let's see how that goes.
And memory has been one of those things that the leading AI leaders have announced that memory will be solved this year. So last year they made some, like Mustafa Solomon from Microsoft said that memory will be solved this year, and this is definitely a step towards that. And I can see the benefits for sure. Having like hundreds or if not thousands of conversations, it is really annoying to search for those. Some conversations I recall having those, and at least it's quite hard to organize everything properly. So yeah, I can see a lot of good from this, but let's see how it plays out, because at least I have a range of different tones and conversations there. So let's see.
Yeah. And I mean, well, going back to customer service, depending on how this is used or can be used, potentially this could also be used to sort of train the, you know, chat assistant so that people who are discussing about similar topics and understanding how their conversation history has been going, they might be able to predict better what comes next and maybe already take that into account when formulating the answer. So that could also be interesting.
Yep, that's right. Hey, let's move on to Google. Google had their Cloud Next conference a few days ago, just before ChatGPT announced the memory and stuff like that. So they just pop out these updates one after another, and that's the race we have ongoing here. But Google Cloud Next, they had a lot of updates that was in the middle of this tariff turmoil as well. So some of they have like left not being noticed so far, but we're not going to dig into all of these. But a few things I want to pick up from here, that in the last episode we mentioned that we talked about MCP, Model Context Protocol, and how Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, had commented whether to support that or not to support that. But now they have announced that they are supporting MCP, so joining the club of other leading labs supporting Model Context Protocol. But then they announced also something of interest, agent to agent protocol, which is something we'll be talking about probably in the next episode. Or is this something you can already comment, Niko?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it was mentioned that Google sort of compared this to sort of MCP, but between agents and not between agents and tools. So interesting to see what that's going to do to all of this. Of course, right now it's not that common to even chain agents yet with one another. So anything that makes that simpler, easier, more effective is, of course, very welcome. But yeah, of course, the origins of this already come from the chat dev white paper that I think I referenced in the first episode we had. That's from 2023. So maybe that's already been the sort of Kickstarter for all of this way of thinking. But yeah, curious to see how this is going to affect building these larger systems that are fully agentic.
And another pick from the long list of updates and announcement is something called Firebase Studio, which claims to be streamlining AI app development. It's sort of hitting the same space as Cursor, which you use extensively, Niko. So we might cover this topic in detail once you have had time to trial Firebase Studio a little bit. How does it work? How does it differ? And so on. But yeah, so a lot of things happening in the full AI stack application build space and dev space for sure. Let's move on to NotebookLM. I'm going to share my screen. So NotebookLM is an AI tool from Google. It's not a new tool, something that people may have heard. The first way it became viral was the podcast feature sometime maybe September last year, August, September last year. So you could create these incredibly spot on podcast conversations by two AI hosts, a female voice and a male voice, and discussing any topic in detail. So you could insert in like a file, for instance, and they would like build a whole podcast episode discussing that file and the content. And it all seemed very, very natural. But obviously, NotebookLM is also useful for other use cases. And I just wanted to bring that up as a tool because I use that a lot. Work context personally as well, but I find it very, very useful. And I thought I'll share some tips in case that you guys are interested in it as well. So first, I want to recommend this notebook will change how you learn. Video on YouTube. It's from a person called Tiago Forte, and it is a very, very useful piece of video, approximately 30 minutes to go through. Again, you can play that with 1.25 speed or whatever you prefer to cut some time. Anyways, very useful, goes through some of the cases I'm going to show here as well, and many others, but go and check that out if you're interested in using NotebookLM. But this is NotebookLM. Let me just go in. So this is my NotebookLM, and I'm using Plus because I'm paying for Google services, so I get the Plus, but this works almost the same without paying for Google services. You might want to go and test that out for yourself. What I did, I inserted, for instance, this video I was just showing here. NotebookLM will change how you learn into one of my notebooks. So I create notebooks from each of the topics that I'm interested in and so on. So I just here you can add different types of sources. So you can add like YouTube link, or you can add a link to a website if it allows you to go and check content. Sometimes you can see that it's being blocked. So in that case, you can't use that as a content, but or you can copy paste text, or you can then save some of your conversations as note as sources as well. So, but what is quite cool here is that you can also go and discover stuff. So this is a new thing. So actually, before we jump into that, let's go and check a mind map. So this is for the YouTube video I was referring to, and there's now a cool feature called mind map. It generates the mind map here, and let's open that up, and we can see a mind map from the content of this NotebookLM video, and then we can go move on to problem solving. Sorry, let's enlarge that, and then core functionalities. It like draws a mind map illustration of the whole content. And this can be very useful in research type of topics. But let's move on I'm going to show you creating a new notebook here. So now this is a new feature that has been enabled at least I got this today. So it was announced, I think maybe 10 days ago or so. They're rolling this out globally in a time space of 2 weeks. So I got this yesterday. But instead of adding sources like we are used to on NotebookLM, we can go to Discover and type here. So let's type here that I want to learn about agent announced by Google. How does it impact developers? Okay, now hit submit. So it'll go and search on Google. Obviously, they have all this data themselves. So it will show you the sources that you can automatically choose here. So we can check, okay, announcing the agent-to-agent protocol, Google dropped A2A, open protocol, multi-agent AI systems. Yeah, these all look pretty good. So I'm going to import them in as sources. So I don't need to see the trouble of going onto Google myself and going and searching for the sources and then copy pasting them into my particular notebook. And this is what we can see here. So this is now a description of what's included in here. And we can see that one of these sources is empty. So it's probably being blocked or so. But these give you like a summary of the content. So these sources announce and discuss Google's agent-to-agent protocol, A2A protocol, an open standard designed to enable interoperability between different AI agents. The protocol aims to allow agents, regardless of the building frameworks of vendor, to communicate, exchange information, coordinate actions, etc. And then we could create this podcast, which I mentioned as well. So you just hit generate. It'll take some time, and then two AI hosts will have a conversation, a podcast about the topic. And what's cool as well, that you can actually enter into that conversation nowadays as well. So once you have that audio podcast available, you can join the conversation, which is pretty neat. But yeah, this is what I wanted to share you guys, a little bit of an update from Google Notebook side. It's definitely one of the key AI tools for myself and for research and all sorts of things I research and do. So I find it very, very useful.
Yeah. I mean, you could just search for the latest, LLM news from the past 2 days and create a podcast for yourself and then listen to that. But yeah, I think it's good that they're combining the sort of deep research stuff into this because it makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and one more thing, if you haven't used this before, so you can just type any question here and have conversation with your sources. So that's the point. And well, we can output this. How does agent do it? It's what it's proposing, but we could ask it anything, and it'll give you an answer from these sources that you have selected here on the left-hand side. And if you find this particular response good, so you can go on and save this to a note. Unless you save this, you will lose this conversation. So you will need to do it again. So you will use this as a source going forward. But a very, very useful, nice tool, which I personally use quite a lot.
And it won't take long until Google also announces their infinite memory type of solutions.
No. We can expect that to come from all the others as well. Yes. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen. Right. Anything else we want to share today, Niko?
Yeah, I could give a bit of a agent tech update. So this month is when it's all happening. In a couple of weeks, there's Microsoft's global AI bootcamp that's being held all around the world. I'm going to the one in Finland for obvious reasons. And the topics there are quite interesting. So there's interacting with multimodal models, with GitHub models and Microsoft Copilot. So how to use the multimodal model with the Copilot. Curious to see how that goes. This is a beginner level exercise, but then there are also ones that, build your first agent with Azure AI Agent Service. So the AI Agent Service in the AI Foundry has been in preview for a long time. And Microsoft have actually said that it won't come out of the early access at least before the summer. But let's see what this session is going to be like. Should be interesting. And then a very sort of traditional LLM topic is building a RAG, in this case with the help of Azure SQL. So using that as a database for the data you're using for your resource augmented generation. Looking forward to this. Target audience, developers, data analysts, data scientists, AI engineers, and machine learning engineers. You might still be able to participate in this, register. If you're curious, just Google a Microsoft AI Global Bootcamp and the country you're in and see if you're able to enter. Should be good. But that's not all that's happening. So on the last day of April, the 30th, UiPath are releasing out into the wild their AI agent feature. Now, we've had it in early access for some time now, and we are building our proofs of concept and so on currently. But yeah, the full version is going to have more features and other kinds of things. And I think we can discuss that in a couple of episodes' time, if all goes well.
That's good. And we also have special episodes coming out soon where we have some guest speakers joining us in the conversation as well. So be on a lookout for those in the future. Cool. I think that's all for now. Thank you so much all for attending. And I remind you of our courses on agentacademy.ai. So there's a free of charge course for understanding agentic AI, a basic course around AI agents and agentic AI. And then there's a paid course for analysts and something new coming up soon as well. So hundreds and hundreds of people have already taken the courses and given us excellent reviews. So go and check that on agentacademy.ai. That's all for now. Thank you so much, Niko, for your thoughts. And it was wonderful having a chat with you again. And thanks all and have a great weekend.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. See ya.